Yeah.
Yo, welcome back
Yep, we in
to
the
the
building.
Lum LaL Show. I'm your host, Lal,
And it's your boy Lum.
and we got a special guest today,
Mhm.
right? This is your weekly injection of introspection.
Yes.
And we are here this week with Dosh. Say what's up to the people, Dosh.
Hi, people.
So, this week we're talking all things psychedelics.
Yes.
And, yes, I am on Shroomz. And I made a amateur mistake today. No, I don't know. I wanted to microdose because I don't really take full doses of shrooms just because I like to microdose, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't measure. I usually measure like, all right, I'm going to take like a gram. I don't know how much I took. I took it like 3 hours ago. I'm glad I took it 3 hours ago because I took it at like 13, 15 minutes ago. Pod canceled.
You'd have just been
pod canceled.
Pod
Yeah, pod canceled. Like we would have had to like.
Pod canceled.
We would have had to like, yeah, let's push it back or tomorrow. Like, yeah, because I was like, I had like a DMT experience. And I was not able to like be here. Like,
yeah.
It was like, no, I had to like.
No, you should have came in. You might have went viral. Who knows what you would have said?
We would have went. No, I don't want to
Do you know
go.
what kind of strain you took?
The last one I got from you, I have no idea.
Okay, because that makes a difference.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad. It was just very much so metaphysical. It wasn't on this plane. It wasn't real third dimensional. It was very. Like, I felt the same way as when I was entering a DMT experience.
You probably got one of them stronger ones.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely a stronger strain. I'm recommending, like, if I do that again for a microdose, I'm definitely going to measure it for sure.
Yeah.
You said that her title was... I just wanted to ask, because you said you were going to have a shaman. Ain't that the title? Ain't that the word you used for her when we was talking last week?
I did. I feel like Dosh is a shaman. I feel like you're very shamanistic. Even though you might not ascribe that to yourself, I don't know. But I feel like that is in your lineage, for real.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Do you identify with that word?
I feel like I identify with it somewhat. I don't necessarily call myself a shaman, but I do have shamanic practices with the way that I do things and with the way that I approach psychedelics. So I would say that that's fitting.
No, I believe you once you said the word shamanic, because I ain't never even heard
What's a shamanic?
Shamanic, and you got me.
But this is also a personal pod because for some, I don't even want to say for some reason because I know like energetically the reason, right? But I reached out to Dosh in like beginning of or end of February, somewhere in February. And I was like, yo, I want you to guide me through a DMT experience. And I had done ayahuasca before, but I hadn't had a full experience. People say you got to sit with ayahuasca a little bit. Like, it was supposed to be a 3-day experience. I only got to do the first day. So it wasn't really like a full thing for me. But then when I seen that you were, doing that, and I was like, yo, I want to do that. That experience very much so, I feel like opened me up to the blessings and challenges of the next phase of my life. And I'll forever remember that as doing that for me. You know what I mean? Like, if you haven't experienced DMT, I don't really think that there's anything that can prepare you for it.
No.
There's nothing that's really going like...
I think the main reason that is also is because everybody's experience is different, and even per person, every time you take it, your experience can be completely different. So there's like, on top of there being no way to really describe it, there's like no reference point for you to describe it from, and it's definitely it's an interesting trip.
Yeah, it always sounds interesting. It looks interesting. There's always so many documentaries and stuff I watch about people.
I'm over here sweating hard as fuck. Here's
Here's
the water. I'm over here sweating.
Shout out to Corey, man. You the man, bro. Definitely came through. But yeah, I see it all the time, and I ain't even gonna lie. I'm definitely intrigued by it. It's one of them things that I talk to my girl about all the time. Like, I think we should. I know I definitely want to try it before. I guess while I'm still here. I mean, is there like while I'm still breathing? I don't know when. I want to give myself a limit. But I'm just like, before I leave this earth, I want to try it.
Yeah.
But it's like, is there like a starting point for DMT, or is it just like everybody has to start at the same place? Is there like a way you can ease yourself in, or is that impossible?
I was just reading this book earlier where there was something called like a toe in the water dose or whatever, and like a lot of different because everybody who administers DMT or psychedelics does it a different way, especially when you're a trip guy. Everybody does it differently. And so some people like for people to have like a little toe in the water, so like a small dose to sort of fill it out and like, get your senses acquainted. But me personally, I'm going to jump in there.
Dive in.
I think you should dive in. I think we're all like adults. The youngest person who I tripped with was 17.
Yeah.
And they handled it like a G.
And
it was a girl.
Yeah.
A little girl.
Yeah.
So I'd be feeling like as a grown man, I'd be feeling like take the dose.
Take the dose.
Take the dose. And it is it's like even if you take 5-7 grams of mushrooms, like it's like you kind of sort of get those same feelings, but DMT is like if mushrooms is like a roller coaster, DMT is like a rocket ship. Like on the outside of the rocket ship, being strapped on it and then going zooming into outer space. Like it's very intense.
Facts.
That sounds crazy. It's definitely always been intriguing to me, just because mostly a lot of people who I respected have always come back with these high review rates for DMT, and it's all people that are very rational. Because there's definitely people who can come back like, yeah, bro, you should try DMT. I'm like, whatever, nigga. I already know what you like. But everything you try, bad, I'm not trying it, nigga. You try way too many things. But it's been like apprehensive people, you know what I mean?
I have not tried a bunch of things.
Bilal has not tried.
I will not try a bunch of things.
He don't come back every week like, yo, nigga, I just tried this, I just tried that. If anything, he tried to eliminate things. Like the Bilal I've known for years, he tried to eliminate things that he's always felt like it may have been a threat or a hindrance to his growth. That's just genuinely something that's in his personality, if you know. So I know, like, if he's coming and telling me about something, he's somebody who I trust off rip. Not saying I off rip just go into it, but like if I had to bet on something that he told me was cool, I would bet on it being cool.
But you know, it's crazy because like I didn't understand why I was so open to it. Because a year and a half ago, psychedelics was a never in my life. Never in my life was I going to ever try anything psychedelic, because I was afraid of losing myself. I was afraid of like losing control.
Like, people who I find are the smartest people I know, the most empathetic and the most logical reason why they don't take it is because they're like afraid of going crazy. And I always be like, what make you so special? Like,
that's a good point. What makes you so special?
I feel like psychedelics can be dangerous if you got like a history of mental illnesses in your family. Like schizophrenia like comes out in your later 20s, and it can come about from taking psychedelic drugs. So if you got like parents or grandparents or close family members or anything that's had any schizophrenic episodes, I would highly recommend that you not try psychedelics. Like I got a lot of family who I wouldn't recommend it. And maybe not with as much knowledge as I have right now. Who knows what I'll recommend in the future. But I'll say with the knowledge I have right now, I wouldn't recommend it.
And I think that, well, for me, it was very much so like, I'm not a control freak. I don't like to have a lot of things in control because I don't like to be responsible for a lot of things. But I do very much so want to be in control of myself. And so,
Is it one of them things?
No, it's not. It's not one of them things. And so, like, so I'm going to say I would like to hear your experience of like what the trip was like from your experience or from your side, seeing me do it for the first time. And then I'll explain like to the people like what I felt or what I saw.
So when me and you had our journey, so for me and my experience,
talking about DMT, by the way.
Yes, with our journey with DMT. We, I feel like men always do better with it because the way that I administer is through a vape pen.
Right.
And you got to take 3 or 4 sometimes nice, big, deep hits. And like you got to, in and out. So even before we did it, I had you, told you might want to practice some breathing exercises. But you hit the pen really, really well. And for me, that's always an indicator that you're going to blast off. So once you did that, I'm like, okay. And immediately, I don't even ever really talk about this, but there's like a breath that happens when you take DMT. Like your breath gets really like big and strong, and it's almost like you were breathing with your like whole entire body. Like,
had to.
You were like going in and out, and you were like riding with the rhythms, and you also had this big smile on your face. And so, also when I do the administer the DMT, I always hit the pen afterwards, partly because I want to see how much is left in there, like from what the person took from that dose, and partly because I want like a little mini trip for myself, and I want to be like present with the experience. Right. So I also hit the pen, and like you were so vibrant. Like, your colors were like orange. It was almost like Egyptian, like sunset golds and oranges and pinks. And you just look so happy and pulsating and beautiful from my perspective.
Okay.
Yes.
So, like, for me, it was like, man. So when Dash said, yo, you're going to hit this pen 3 times, on the first hit, like, when I took the first hit, I'm just like, all right. Let me tell you something. Because I'm like, okay, I feel myself going somewhere. Like, I'm leaving this dimension, and immediately there was a voice in me that was like, all right, stop. And it was because it was like this fear factor, right? And on the second hit, I already felt myself like leaving this dimension. Like, I'm not here no more. I'm somewhere else. Like, I'm literally somewhere else. The third hit, I remember I wasn't able to clean the pen out, but I did as best I could. And then after that, the first thing that happened was, and I thought about sugarcoating it, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it was my full experience. Like, the first thing that happened was like panic. I was like, okay, like, I am not in control. I don't know what the fuck's happening. Like, I felt myself leaving. I seen colors. I see shapes. I'm seeing things, like, and I'm not understanding. Reality is melting away. Like, this room would be like fucking melting and shifting. And I was like, damn, I'm tripping right now. And I had a moment of realizing, like, I'm choosing panic. Like, I'm choosing fear. Like, I'm literally choosing to be afraid right now. And I realized in that moment, like, I had the power to shift my perspective. You know what I mean? And once I started breathing, like she was saying, the first thing I did was I focused on my breath. And I know that just because of years of being interested and practicing meditation at my own pace, I knew that was like my baseline. And I'm happy that I had that, because they say when you're under pressure, you're going to resort back to your training.
That's the best baseline. In all the psychedelic practices I do, I always tell people, when you don't got nothing else, you got your breath. You got to focus on that nice deep breaths.
When I went back to my breath, and once I gained awareness of my breath, the awareness spread to everything else. And it was like, all right, I can choose to enjoy this. And once I chose to, like, be present and enjoy it, I was laughing hysterically. I laughed the entire time. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. I was laughing so hard, I heard her laughing. And if you ever do a DMT trip, you know, like, well, I guess at some point in your journey, you'll hear the fact that if you ever make a noise, it's like a big-ass echo. It's almost like it's not coming from you. It's like you're in this giant hall, this radiant hall or something. Your voice sounds so outside of you. And I just heard myself laughing in fucking an echo. Like, I was just like...
You're just like radiating on into like infinity with like the
facts.
vibrations. Like,
and so it was a beautiful experience, because what happened after that was I know that I saw my own core of energy. Like, I saw my soul. Like, I saw myself for real. And I seen that I was like this ball of light. I saw the light. I seen how everything was reverberating off the light. And I really saw myself, right? And everything that I was dealing with at the moment that was like trivial, not even trivial, things that I didn't realize were trivial. You know what I mean? Things that I felt were very heavy, very present, things, pressing issues. They became, I don't know if the word's trivial, but they just became what they were, which is just a moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just a moment to see and view and, you know, experience, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And so from that perspective, I feel like it opened me up to be able to receive other things in my life. But more importantly, it prepared me. It gave me a stillness, a steadiness, and prepared me for when my mom passed. Because, like, when my mom passed, I feel like that was, again, when you're under pressure, you revert back to your base habits. You know what I mean? You revert back to who you are.
How many days was it after? Like, how long about would you say?
I don't know for sure, but the number that jumped out to me was 13.
Like 13 days after that?
Yeah, 13 days.
Yeah.
Which is wild, because 13 has so many significant meanings. But it was like 13 days. And after that experience, immediately after, everything was just different to me. It was just like, wow, like, I have a core and I finally got to like see myself, you know what I mean? And then once my mom passed, I felt like that experience put me under pressure again, and it made me realize like, okay, that DMT experience was definitely heaven sent, was divine timing, because I wasn't even open to doing DMT. Like I don't even know what the fuck. It was just like, yo, let's do it. And I realized that was very much so, you know, guidance, ancestors, God, that put me in that space to be able to be prepared for what came next. But yeah. And then second, I did another trip with Dash. The second trip, I found myself trying to overanalyze. Like while I was tripping, I was trying to like experience and categorize everything. And that's what taught me, that experience taught me like every person has a core, right? But your core isn't a place where you're supposed to be, it's who you are. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's who you are. Your core is like your essence, and it's not just like a place where you have to go back to. It's the you that you're ignoring. You know what I mean? So yeah, those experiences definitely prepared me for a lot of shit, and it's still preparing me for shit that I haven't even received yet. You know what I mean?
I think most people find DMT when they're ready. Like when it's like it's always some type of, they kind of say that with like Shroomz or whatever psychedelic, they always say it'll find you. Right. And me personally, I wouldn't found that DMT. I wanted it bad. I went and scathed
I went and found that DMT.
Yeah, so like I found it because
she
I really
it down.
But I feel like even that was like it caught me. Like it really called to me. And the first time I did it, I was at home and I was by myself. And that's why I feel like
I remember you told me that.
Yeah, like
which is brave as hell. Let me tell you.
It is really brave.
Like, oh, wow.
That's brave. Warrior bravery. Like that's like go out in the woods and come back with a wolf fucking coat, nigga. Like that's that level to me.
And
like,
it felt like it when I did it. I still got the recording on my phone, but I didn't trust nobody enough. I knew that it was something that like it was like something in my core, in my heart, in my soul. It was really calling to me. Like I really was yearning to experience this thing. And at that point in my life, there wasn't anybody who I trusted enough to like share that with me, or who I felt could journey me, guide me, or guide me back if I needed guided back. I feel like if anything possibly went wrong, somebody might panic and it could make it worse. Like all these, I overthink too. Like, like I got like a lot of anxiety. So it's like the bravest thing for me to do, I feel like the safest thing for me to do is do it with myself. And that first trip was very challenging. I feel like after you take that third hit, every movie that I've ever seen where they accidentally open up a portal and fall in is exactly what it feels like.
Facts.
Like, you know, they open up like, what's going over there? And they're like, no, wait. And they're like trying to hold on to reality, but everything just goes around them. Is exactly what it's like. It's like once you hit it, you're almost trying to grasp the walls of reality, but there's nothing there, and you just got to just fall back into it.
Exactly.
And my first trip that I had, I was visited by entities. And so when you take DMT, a lot of people see entities, whether they're elves or doctors, or like I said, everybody's experience is different. Some people just feel like a radiant light. This was one of my only trips with entities, and it was like I was in the middle of like a cosmic storm, and there was like a lot of chaos around me, and I was panicking because it was scary. And there were 1, 2, 3 doctors. It was like I was in like a cosmic storm, and like the heavens were opened up over top of me, and it was 3 doctors, and they had like lights coming out of their heads, and they had little tools, and they were doing surgery on me. And they were the opposite of how I was panicking, and I couldn't get it together. They were up there like, why doesn't she just calm down? Like they were like clicking her little instruments, and then like the female doctor was like, because somebody just told her to calm down. If she would just like calm down. And like they were so like kind of how doctors be, like mean a little bit. And I'm just like, you know, so I came out of that trip, and so
how was your breath in that trip? How was your breathing?
I was sweating. It was like deep. Like I got the recording on my phone. Like it's like I feel like everybody kind of when they take DMT, it's like these deep, slow breaths, and like because when you take it, you lay there for 5 to 15 minutes and just kind of like, you know, you laugh or you might take deep breathing, but you're not talking, you're not moving, you're not walking around.
Hell
You're
no.
literally just
walking
like
around is the last thing.
sitting there with your eyes closed for
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes, not
Right.
doing nothing. So on the recording, you just see me like, you know, my breath is breathing. And as soon as I come up, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Right.
And that
Man.
experience changed my life too. So
Facts.
it really
So
does.
when you say psychedelic, what all is in the family of psychedelics? Because a lot of people be like, oh, yeah, I'm on a psychedelic. But there seems like there's a lot of different things. So I just be wanting to know so I can differentiate when I look at somebody and how I look at somebody. Because I'm going to judge them if they're on a drug.
I think psychedelic drugs, I think weed is considered a psychedelic.
Okay.
But I think when we're talking about psychedelics, we're more talking about like shrooms,
Yeah.
acid, MDMA. Pure MDMA is considered a psychedelic.
Which is on the street known as Molly ecstasy.
Yeah, exactly. Special K, one of the newer ones. I know a lot of people, not even newer. It's definitely not new, but newer to like our community.
Right,
it's like horse tranquilizer, and it's called Special K. But like a lot of these drugs is being used in like therapeutic settings, like all over the world. Like they got a lot of negative connotation, like in our community, but in other places, they're like in doctors' offices. They're like paying $5,000 for a treatment of. You know, bring your own shrooms, but we got all the doctors here and we'll watch you and pay us $5,000. And I'm like, I can do that, and I'm your friend.
Right. The trip
Like,
issue, like,
the trip issue. So
wow. See, like,
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of the day, when you experience this, it's going to be individual. Like, it's going to be, no one can possibly tell you what you're going to experience. Like, no one could really, you know what I mean? Like, there was this monk whose name I should know because I talk about him so much. But he talked about the story of how this guy was going to climb this mountain and essentially just kept asking people who was on their way down what it was like. What was it like at the peak? What was it like? Everybody had their own perspective, and he eventually decided that he didn't need to go up there because he heard everybody else's stories, but he didn't realize that everybody's story was different.
Yeah.
So your story is never going to be experienced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're so busy trying to hear what everybody else is, you're not realizing that you're not going to have your experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I definitely would like to take that journey by myself one day. Because I mean, obviously, besides weed, well, a girl did trick me into taking acid one time before.
Wait, how?
She kind of told me it was like a little Listerine strip, and I was thinking like, this is a weird looking
cool.
Listerine. It didn't look nothing. In retrospect, just being like older, it didn't look shit like no Listerine
How old were
strip
you?
at all. I was probably like 15, 16.
She
That was
tricked
wild.
you. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, she was
bro.
like 22, 23. I ain't gonna lie. I used to always get finessed by some old chick when I was like, when I was a teenager. Yeah, but I think about it, I'm like, why did you believe that?
no, we got to go back. How was it? Because you didn't even know that. What was this like?
It was wild because right afterwards I was hanging with her, and I immediately went to go hang out with all my friends. So I'm walking around outside, and as I'm walking around outside, when I'm thinking about it, I thought about it later. I was going through it when I'm walking around outside,
Yeah.
so everything just seemed like everything was just really slow to me. I felt like it took me forever to get to my friend's house, who was literally almost like my neighbor. And so I get there, and everybody just the music's playing. It's like a regular Saturday night. Music's playing, everybody's smoking and chilling and stuff. And then I go up and I start chilling with my friends, and I remember us just chilling on this couch, and then my boy had put his arm around me. But like when he put his arm around me, I looked next to him. I think I told Bilal about this years ago, and I kind of felt like we was together. Like I couldn't find my arm for a second. That was the only thing that I remember. So we're just rocking back and forth. I think he was just being goofy. Like there was a song going, maybe like swag surfing or something.
Yeah.
Might have been before that, but we were just rocking back and forth. And I was just me for like 10 minutes. I was just like, well, I guess I'm just sharing a body with this nigga. Like, for like 10 minutes, we sat there just rocking back and forth.
Probably felt like 10 minutes.
I didn't have anything extra. Like I don't feel like I left the earth or not, but that was the one point in time where I was like, yeah, I cannot feel this side of my body. Oh yeah, I had a great time. I can't lie.
That's good.
I was a little mad when I thought about it. It's something that I didn't really realize until she told me like a week later. But it's something that I didn't really realize.
She told you a week later. That's trippy. That's wild.
Yeah, like
unacceptable for real.
Yeah, she was like, but I shouldn't. I'm just stupid. Like she was like, you want a Listerine strip? and just looked. Who asked if you want a Listerine strip like that? Like,
And who has them prepared, ready?
Not in a thing of Listerine at all. You just pulled it out like a little baggie and stuff. And why you got them in this little plastic baggie and stuff?
Right.
And why is that one separate from the other ones? They had a little
Right.
tissue thing around. There was just mad stuff I should have just asked. Like, and I got up there, I just kind of felt
only
stupid.
15.
Yeah, I was young. I didn't even really, because I haven't been that high all the time. So it took me a couple years to realize, okay, I was dumb high, and that had to be. She's like, yeah, I gave you some of what I be fucking with. She didn't even tell me what it was at first. I had to describe it, but it was clear. It was clear. It wasn't like a perfect square. It was like a clear square-ish little thing that she told me it was. But that was the only, because I didn't realize I was a psychedelic at all. When she said that, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I have done like a psychedelic before.
You have.
But I would like to do it, purposely.
Cognizantly,
and try to experience it. Like I said, DMT is what I've read about a lot more than anything else. Like, because mushrooms I would try to do, but I wouldn't consider that like I haven't done them, but I wouldn't mark that down as like a day in my calendar. Like today I did mushrooms.
I think you should.
Really?
It's definitely something to consider. Mushroom, like, as much as DMT is a transformative and life-changing event, it's an experience. I would categorize it as. There is a lot of integration that happens, but I feel like mushrooms make you do the work.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
there's two sides of mushrooms. People like taking mushrooms for therapeutic uses, or they like taking them recreational. Recreational is fun, but me personally, I like taking them alone and like sitting with myself. And the stuff that comes up be worth it.
Yeah, it's always something
worth
new,
taking a look into. Every single time is something different. You know, sometimes you have challenging trips. Sometimes you have great trips where me and my plants, I be like, you needed water this whole time? Why didn't you tell me? Like, I'd be on the shrooms and we'd be like connecting, and I can like hear them for some reason. Or sometimes I take them and like go out with friends and cry in the car with them. But like the thing is, like, they bring stuff up. They do.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I feel like shrooms for me is. I realize shrooms for me is something that I like to do in small doses. Like, I don't really like to have big doses of shrooms, but for some reason I like DMT. So it's like when I want to have a full experience, DMT is what I'll go for. But shrooms for me are very much so. Like today though, not measuring, definitely had like a full therapeutic experience. Definitely had an experience that was more close to DMT than I ever had with shrooms before. Like you said, it could have been a strain and just how much and blah blah blah. Because I definitely didn't measure, and I definitely took a good.
As far as strange, how much does it vary? Like, because you know how weed, you can get some weed. There's like quality of weed varies so much. How much does the quality of, I'm not even gonna say every psychedelic, but how much is the quality of like DMT? Can you go get like some Reggie DMT?
Oh
like,
yeah, there's definitely like different
thing.
types of quality. So. The DMT you want to look for is like white almost, like not white almost, like white. The yellower it is or the orangish it is, the least pure it is. It's like white and like fluffy and crystally. It's pretty.
That's so similar to cocaine.
It is. I didn't want to scare the people. I didn't want to scare them.
I'm like, oh yeah, the more yellow it is, okay, yeah.
Stepto, okay, Stepto, creatine, okay. Creatine, all right. No, but
so you definitely gotta trust who you getting it from, so that you know you get, like, it's not one of those things that you want to play with.
Right.
Like weed, I mean, you know you're gonna get weed. You don't know how good it's gonna be. Shrooms, you know, relatively, you know they shrooms. You don't know how good it's gonna be. But DMT, I think you should trust the person for sure. You get some pretty shitty shit. Probably have a max, so great time.
Because to give the viewers from some perspective, I had met Dosh years ago, but we never were like consistently in contact, or like, you know what I mean? It was like I met her through a friend who had passed on, Shaquem. I call him True. If you ever hear me say True, I'm talking about Shaquem. And I was at True's crib one time, and some stuff was going on, and Dosh was there. He's like, yo, can you walk Dosh home? And so that was the first time I ever met her. She don't remember that. But that was the first time I ever met her.
I remember in my I don't remember her here, but I remember her here.
Right. It was like I remember, like, I walked her home, whatever, boom. And then I would see you around because I played for Peabody, and like there was just weird time where Shinley was going to school at the bottom of Peabody or something. And I remember like just seeing all the shit. I would see Lux, I would see her, I would see a bunch of people that went to Shinley. And I would just see you in passing, see you, boom, boom. And then I seen you again, like at the joint on Penn, and it was just like, I have that in my life though, like where people kind of like come into my orbit, and it's just like, and then it's like a crash, like, okay, boom, you know what I mean? And that's what it was. It was like one day I just seen on social media, you said something about DMT. Or first it was the shrooms, and I was like, oh yeah. Because who I was getting the shrooms from, she didn't really have a deep understanding of like what strains and like what this and that. It was just like, hey, I got shrooms. It was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I got shrooms.
You know what I mean? But I didn't want to do shrooms that way because I felt like shrooms were a little bit more particular than weed. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't just be like, I got shrooms. So, but then I was like seeing something that Kevin Gates had said about like, and I was already feeling this way because my first experience with DMT was through ayahuasca. And I was already feeling like you shouldn't, not that you shouldn't, but like for me, I shouldn't be taking shrooms or any version of natural psychedelics with sugar. You know what I mean? So I did, my first time taking shrooms, it was like off of like a gummy or something. And I was like, I don't really want to do that no more. Like it's nice for beginners only because it is very much so a very measured dose. Like every time is going to be not exactly the same, but as close as you're going to get.
Right.
But I feel like there's something special about...
It's definitely something special about having, like, the real thing.
Exactly.
Like,
and then just, like, submitting to the experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that whole thing, when it came together, it just made sense. I didn't even really realize why. And then after the trip, you told me that you had just, like, had a dream about Shaquem or something like that. And I was like, okay, see, boom. Like, that's what it was, right?
Like literally the night
Yeah.
before.
That's deep.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
deep. How things come together, man. So if someone was like watching this and like, I'm gonna try shrooms tomorrow, like, what are your 3 tips for them?
Oh, okay. So shrooms,
Yeah.
I would recommend not taking them on a heavy stomach. Like maybe eating something light and keeping nice, light, healthy snacks around. Water, grapes, watermelon is great. Always take it around people you love. Like, that's very, very important to me. Like, a lot of people want to take shrooms and maybe go out and party with friends. If you got a girlfriend or boyfriend, take shrooms with your significant other. That is going to be, like, such an intimate, special bonding time. Like, laughing, joking, playing, like, nonstop laughter, touchy-feely. Like, I feel like that's, like, a great thing. Or even if... I take it with my mom sometimes, and we go on walks in nature,
That's
and
dope. Yeah.
it's like, you know,
That's
that's my girl. She do everything. I'm like, here. She trusts me though, as she should.
Yeah, right.
And I would say my last tip for shrooms is do not drive.
Wow, yeah, don't drive. Don't do it.
Do not drive. Like, whenever you take them, be somewhere where you want to be, where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Make sure your house is clean. It's going to fuck with you if it ain't.
Yeah.
Make sure your house is clean. Be
Yeah.
around people you love. Don't plan on going nowhere because
Yeah.
driving is, like, I always tell people don't drive, and people come up to me like, I remember you said don't drive, but I drove anyway. I'm like, And what happened?
Anyway.
They be like, I was at the red light, and then the lights was, and I'm like, yeah, you was probably at that red light for way too long.
Yeah.
Like, lights
You
be
lucky you
looking
ain't get to an
different,
accident
and
down
it be
there.
kind of like slow, and I drove on shrooms before. I highly don't recommend.
I've drove on shrooms, but it was because, well, okay. So I was watching stuff before I took my first like shroom experience by myself outside of the gummies. And this dude was like, yeah, I microdose every day. And I was like, oh, it's something that you can do often. But then I was like, nah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Microdosing is, but not every day
See, people
for me.
throw the word microdosing around because you said you microdosed earlier. You don't even know how to word.
I did not microdose.
When you
I did
microdose,
not
it's
microdose.
literally under a 0.3.
Right, like you're supposed
Like,
to very
you
much
barely
so
feel
measure
it.
that joint.
Yeah, like it's a barely feel it
Yeah.
thing is considered a microdose.
Technically, I never microdosed then because I'm always
That's about right.
I'm always like 1.5.
It's not a microdose.
That's not a that don't even sound like
not
a microdose.
That is a very
Yeah.
healthy dose, and depending on the type of shrooms you got, that's a strong dose.
And I feel like that's what just happened.
It's like a gram and a half.
I don't know.
Probably of the
But,
penis
like,
envies.
I don't know. I'm gonna show you.
Do you remember what color it was?
It looked oranges. Like it looked like it was orange before it dried.
Oh, you had the gold. Those was the golden
Yeah,
teachers. And the
okay.
golden teachers is super special too. So you
Okay.
didn't have the like super strong ones,
Okay.
but I mean, once they
Yeah,
hit you,
when they hit you, they hit you.
They
Like,
hit you, they
and
hit you.
and again, I didn't measure. I usually got my little scale. You know what I mean, a little ski wop, put it on there, boom, boom, boom. Nah, I was just like, I was on the phone too.
Yeah, I'm cracking
throw
up,
it over
yo.
there.
In my mind, I'm just thinking about like the marketing that goes into drugs in general is just hilarious to me. Like because every drug just has a name, just like weed. So them was the golden teachers. In my mind, I'm like the golden teachers. What they going
exactly.
Shit,
yeah.
golden teachers. What kind of shit? What
The golden teeth. You would have
I
learned.
I hate advertising, man.
No, but for real
That's
though,
one
like
of the best ones.
I actually had a full experience. Like I feel like I had another. I understood another layer of like my universal self, like the energy that it was almost like I came to an understanding of like my oldest version of myself, and like I realized the oldest version of myself, which I'm not going to share on the pod because I feel like that's a sacred moment for me. Like, but the oldest version of myself, I finally met them.
You've been doing some good work on the psychedelics. Like,
Yeah,
I appreciate somebody who actually takes the time to do the like introspection on psychedelics, because it's easy to put on a movie, and there's nothing wrong with putting on a movie. There's nothing wrong with listening to music and getting lost in whatever, but there's also like something to be said with somebody who really like sits with herself and be like, what is that? What's going on here? Really like taking a deep look, because I feel like at its core, that's kind of what Shroomz is for. Yeah,
and I ain't gonna lie, I think I have a polarity to like challenging myself to do things, even if I don't want to. Like, so I took the microdose today just to really prepare for the pod. I should stop saying microdose.
Yeah.
I took the dose today to prepare.
Just say you pounded some Shroomz, bro.
I stuffed my face with some golden teachers
That's what I'm saying,
to prepare myself for the pod.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was I felt myself wanting to go into the trip. Like it felt like when you first, like that second hit of the DMT and you're being called to dive. But like I was like staying cognizant because I was like, maybe I need to go on a walk. So I went on a walk. And when I was on the walk, I went to a little park down the street from my crib, and there was kids outside, which is fine. But like there was this old lady. I felt everyone. And I felt people looking at me like, who the fuck is that creep? And I was just like, God damn, like, what is this energy? Like,
meanwhile, you down there, Shroomz, like,
you feel me? Because I'm in a park with my feet out. Like, I mean, I took my socks and shoes off so I can be grounded. Yeah. And he was looking at you like, you crazy? They looking at me like, who the fuck is this nigga?
Yeah, that's
and then
my
it's
favorite.
like,
I feel you. I feel like,
me?
yeah.
But then like, and then I already have a stigma in society because I'm a black male.
Yeah, you 6
When
six
in
foot,
reality,
when in reality,
kids are safer around black men than they are others.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
I'm chilling in a park and there's kids and there's this old lady over there, and I don't even know when she popped up because I wasn't like paying attention to everything, but I knew that the kids was there, and I knew some of the kids, not personally, but just because I see them around. So if I'm even with my eyes closed, if I hear somebody on a bike, I already know it's that one kid. You know what I mean? So like I'm chilling. And I look over and then this old lady's there all of a sudden, and she's just like,
give you that look. Like, I see you.
and I'm like, all right, like, you kind of blowing my high right now. And I'm in between like wanting to dive in. Like I'm sitting on this bench, sun's beaming, and every time I close my eyes and I start breathing, I feel myself like, okay, I'm diving in. But then I just feel everyone else's energy is like, all right, I gotta stay up. And I know I'm looking crazy. I probably like I was off heroin because I'm going like this, and I'm like, I don't know, it's like,
yo, I picture how you probably
looking at me like, yo, this nigga hot. This nigga off some bullshit.
Yeah, even how you said it, it's so funny because like we know how to talk, so everything you said
Yeah,
real smooth.
like, I know they was looking at me
it wasn't
like-
regular people. People was always looking at you like I walked in the park, just took my shoes off,
Yeah.
put my face. They probably was looking at you.
No,
like,
they was looking at me
fuck is
crazy,
this
and I know they was
nigga
looking at me crazy because every time like there was like cars driving past and they was like slowing down when they got to me, and it was just like, bro, I promise you, I'm trying to vibe. Like y'all niggas was watching me too heavy, so I went back to the
Probably
crib.
looked angelic.
Maybe that was
I was
it.
about to say maybe you was, maybe
But I
you was
wanted to
raised
be
that time.
I wanted to be unseen in the moment. I wanted to be unseen and just like in my nakedness. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I went back to the crib, but my crib was not clean right now. My crib was in disarray, and it's like something that like bothers me because I like to keep my crib clean, but I do realize like I'm been going through a lot and I'm just now getting a rest period, so it's okay if it's not clean right now. Like I got time to clean it, but it's just like and then the Shroomz was like clean everything right the fuck now.
I told you don't take Shroomz to the dirty house.
I tried to repot a big ass plant.
You did not
wash dishes all at the same time.
Taking Shroomz and trying to repot a plant is wild.
And this is going to sound crazy, but I also have like these big ass pictures of my mom that I didn't hang up, and it's like it's a picture that I wouldn't choose of my mom, but her husband chose it, and so her face is kind of looking like you should clean, and I'm just like looking, and I'm just like this is all too much for me right now.
Yeah, a lot of stimulation.
A lot of stimulation off the Shroomz. So I just put everything down, and I was like, I'm gonna revisit this, in a day or two, and so, but that was a challenge for me because when someone is on Shroomz and you have that much overstimulation, you can lose yourself. You know what I mean?
That's how bad trips happen. That's how I wouldn't even say bad trips. I don't like that word, challenging trips. Yeah. Because it's not bad. Like when you have a so-called bad trip, it's like you're kind of running into a wall. That's the moment that you kind of look into yourself and say, what is this here? Like, what is this feeling? But the dirty house will do it.
Dirty house will do it, bro.
It really will.
I wanted to say this too, though. Like one of the things that prepared me for like I don't know if the word's prepare, but one of the things I go back to when I'm thinking about psychedelics and how they push and pull on you, the thing that keeps me able to like experience it and learn from it is I watch a lot of anime.
Facts.
And like
a lot of anime fans.
You said what?
I said I'm not an anime fan, but I run into a lot of anime fans.
The thing about anime, the reason why I like anime is because it challenges you. At least I feel like if you're watching it properly. Some people just like fan out on it, but like when you're watching it, it challenges you to think deeply about like your values and who you are, what you stand for, and how far you're willing to go for that. Like when I was doing. When you took me through the DMT experience, it was a decision where it's like, all right, like, are you going to fold and crumble right now? Are you about to fall apart right now? And it's like, no, not about to fall apart right now. And it was like this steadiness. Not that I don't think I got it from anime, but anime can remind you of like,
of course,
who you are. You know what I mean? Who you are? You
it's just certain little
moments. Let me see you grit those teeth or like such a harder blaze. All these type of these sayings, and it's just like, all right, still yourself essentially. Like you know what I mean? Who are you, or more importantly, who do you envision yourself to be?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because that's more in line with who you are than your current circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, in that, that moment of like hyper overstimulation, I was just like, okay, like it's fine. Like I'm going to revisit this. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? And then I went upstairs and I tried to take a nap, but like that's when the DMT vibe set in. Yeah. You know what I mean? When I started to like lay down, immediately as soon as I laid back, it was like, you know what I mean? So I think psychedelics are very therapeutic. That's what we're getting at here. It's very therapeutic. It's very much so going to uncover some stuff for you, whatever that is. But more importantly, it's going to allow you to like move forward with a different grace to you. You know what I mean?
A different perspective.
Facts.
Definitely a different perspective. Like, I got a lot of friends right now who is going through things and they'll tell me everything and they're waiting for my advice at the end. I'll be like, you want these shrooms? It's like, you want something more profound from me, but it's like the answers that you're looking for are inside of yourself. And this is going to be the way for you to find them. Because one of the things that you realize, one of the biggest revelations that I think we all have after we take shrooms is how much none of this shit really matters.
Facts.
How much, like, it just is like, like it just doesn't, like how much like magic there is in just the present moment, how much we lose ourselves going forward and back and in the past and in the future. And something about like when you take the shrooms and you're in that present moment and you realize that you got everything you need and you got it now, you've always had it and you're always going to have it, it releases you from some of those old thought patterns.
Facts. Definitely nothing matters, but definitely like peeling back the urgency of things that you think are super important, but are really not super important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I try to do that. I definitely want to It's more interesting to me now hearing y'all say that, because that's just kind of how I like to go through life. I always feel like, because I've been through, anybody who knows me, I've been through a lot of shit. So like I always feel like, just as a reality of life, there's always like a random tragedy around the corner. So I try not to make every little thing a tragedy. Like,
Absolutely.
Every little thing. If it could be handled in a week or two, it's not a tragedy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not really a tragedy. There are true blue tragedies and things that go on. So I definitely want anything that can help further my thought and being of that, and because I want to get into a supreme state of that. I don't want to just talk about it or feel that way sometime. I want to be that. So I feel like anything that can help me on a journey to be that, to be able to pick out certain things like automatically and be like, this is not worth.
Right.
It's not worth my stress. It's not worth my. You know what I mean? It's not worth my time. I definitely want to experience that.
I feel like if you know how to do that and you start to do that before you take psychedelics, like you can like relieve some of yourself of that anxiety because you're on the right track. If you take psychedelics and you already think like that, it's just going to enhance like how you already are and how you already think, and so you're just going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So I feel like you would have a great trip versus somebody who maybe isn't facing their problems and maybe is drinking a lot or going out a lot or always somewhere where they're not supposed to be and never facing themselves. That person might have a quote-unquote bad trip because when you take them shrooms, it's a reflection,
That's
kaleidoscope
facts. That's
type.
Facts.
I feel like those are the
That's
people.
facts.
And I'm not even saying because things could be going well, you can be doing the work and you can have a challenging trip because things get brought on. But that's what makes the difference between a bad trip and a challenging trip, because a challenge is something that you get over. Like you get to see yourself for what you truly is, and you get to thank God for that revelation, and you get to move past it and get over it and come out of it a new person. And I mean, that's worth it for me.
Yeah. I think that is, like, you put that, you definitely put that right in the perfect perspective, where it's like a bad trip is when someone, I guess, succumbs to like the shit that comes up, and it's like they can't handle it.
They don't know how to find their way home. Like,
find their back to their center.
Yeah, back to their center. That's how I feel about the DMT. If you do a lot of finding your way home, you'll be okay, because once that second hit, the universe dissolves and you turn into nothing, and you don't know nothing, and you don't know up from down, left from right, and what is. And the key is knowing how to center yourself and find your way home. And when you do the work in your everyday life, you get, you use those tools and those experiences, and it heightens it. It definitely does. Yeah.
So I would say my number one tip to anyone that's about to do any type of psychedelic, and I've never done LSD. I don't know if I'm interested or not. I don't think so, but
it's beautiful. It's different.
I would have to, again, like, be in the right place, right time,
Always.
right people. Yeah.
Right.
But if you're going to try psychedelics, my first thing is to, before you do it, not just immediately, but like weeks before you do it, really work with your breath. If you haven't practiced meditation and breathing and focusing on your breathing, then you're missing out in life in general. But like when you're about to do something that is going to take you to layers unseen, like the breath is, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the breath is really the guide of who, you know what I mean? Like your breathing is going to root you, and then when it roots you, it roots your mind. And once you root your mind in something, then you have the ability to navigate the space that you're in. You know what I mean? Because like, and it's not to be scary. I just think that a lot of people don't realize how much they're not aware of themselves until they take some psychedelics. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's what people are afraid of when they have never taken it before, and they say they're afraid to take psychedelics. They're really afraid of who they really is because they don't go there with themselves.
Yeah, I felt like that's facts.
Like if you you look at that light wolf and that dark wolf inside of you, you know that you probably could say better than me. You say all the great parables.
That's hilarious. I don't know if that was he has a song where he said that. Did she hear that song, or is that just a coincidence? That's hilarious. That's literally almost a direct quote from him.
Because he does. He always knows like a great parable for every moment.
He literally, it was like an interlude. I'm done. Because he was like, the light wolf. Like, no, literally, I can't remember.
It's literally a whole minute and a half of me talking about that.
That's what I'm like. She must have.
It's Peace War? I think it's
Peace War. And you was like, you was describing both wolves.
Yeah.
Yo, that's funny as hell.
But no, you every day in every decision, right? You give a piece of meat to whatever wolf. But at the end of the day, I think when you're doing psychedelics, right? When you're doing psychedelics, what happens is you can't hide. Everything that you are, you can't hide. You can't hide from yourself. I'm trying to go back to the 4 agreements well, not trying to. It's something that I'm re-implementing. You know what I mean? I'm going to read it again.
Those are
before.
key. I be having to remind myself, and I just read that again. I'm telling you, if you read it, as a regular book before, like, bro, read it as an audiobook. There's mantras in there. There's meditation music. I read it before as a regular book. I reread it as a completely different experience. Different experience. I'm like, yo, this is not the same book that I just read. I remembered all the words, but it's like he put certain things, certain audible cues in there that you can't get from reading the book. You can't get from reading certain meditation.
It's an experience
in the book. Yeah, it's an experience too. That's why I'm like, yo.
I think almost all, not all, but I think books should be consumed. And that's the natural way, you know what I mean? The griots, the storytellers, like, you sit down and we listen to the story, and then the drummers are drumming or playing music to the beat of the story. Like, it isn't, it's naturally an experience for our people, but we kind of, like, revert to this, and I mean, that's cool, but, like, getting that experience.
And it's crazy you said that, because I've been addicted to, like, I told you, I've had a new addiction to just Audible for, like, months now, just going through stuff, and I realized, of course I do, like, that's the oldest form of entertainment in the world. It's someone sitting there telling you a story.
That's the oldest form of entertainment in the world.
Like, that's crazy, because that's definitely been like a peak. I just found myself, like, every time I run out of them little points, I'm like, damn.
I'm going to get on that. I'm going to get on Audible. I'm going to get on Audible.
That's crazy. I finished the book the other day.
I definitely have never done Audible.
Oh, it's great.
It is great. I love listening to audiobooks. Even books like you said that you read before, and when you listen to them, it's like a new perspective, especially when you got a good reader who just...
bro. And they be having some good readers on there. Like, all the books I read was read by great authors. Even, like, Mike Tyson's book was read by a great reader. Like, he did a good job. His book was great. I just finished Will Smith's, even Iceberg Slim's. I started Booker T. Washington's, but it was pretty dope. But bro, just the way the stories is delivered like that, like, especially when you talk about, because it is the oldest form of entertainment.
Which Booker T. Washington you talking about?
Let me see.
You're not talking about the wrestler, right?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
I just had to ask, because
I don't think I read Booker T.
Because he got books out too. I'm like, which one are you talking about?
Yo, Booker T having a book out, I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I already know. Like, you going old school, or you looking at the wrestler? Like,
I didn't think the Spinneroonie.
Which one are we talking about?
I didn't think the Spinneroonie was that fly when he used to do that joint.
The Spinneroonie.
That was a special move. The Spinneroonie.
I'm like, is we bootstraps or we Spinneroonie? Like, which one are we talking about?
Yeah, that's funny. Nah, his joint called Up From Slavery, so I don't think.
Okay, Up From Slavery.
Up From Slavery. Yeah.
That's the one where he well. Okay, I know you're talking about. But so I'm going back to the 4 agreements because that's where the work is at. You know what I mean? And then when you're on shrooms, I think the thing that attacks you and not shrooms. When you're on psychedelics, the thing that pops out to you first is are you impeccable with your word? And it's not necessarily like a guilty thing. It's just more so like you can't hide from yourself. So you start to feel the root of you, like, trying to come through the door, and it's like, you know, you're going to have to open up that door, and that's the only. And it's okay when you open up the door. If you don't like what you see, or if you love what you see, regardless, it's a moment of you to have growth. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. What popped up to me when you said that was, like, all the ways that we contradict ourselves.
Yeah,
like, that's something that, like,
that's that part.
Yeah,
you're
like
going against
the ways that we say we're one ways, but all the ways we're not meeting up to those expectations in reality, and we all do it. So that definitely pops up first.
Yeah,
it does.
Facts.
And you got to work through that too, because, like, you know, there's like ebbs and flows of a trip where certain things pop up and you contradict yourself, but there's also moments of deep love for yourself.
Yep.
And for everything around you, and for everything that you is, like, one of my favorite memes on psychedelics is, like, when it's just like a hand, like, holy shit. And you're like, look at everybody in your hand, like, that's my favorite meme, because this becomes so wild. No, like, a hand attached to my body that moves, and it's like...
That's facts. I just had that experience,
so it's like
3 hours ago.
Deep thinking ways, and you gotta, you know, work through things, but there's also a lot of fun moments.
No, there's a lot of fun moments. You appreciate yourself, because everything that you've done in your life that you felt good about, you feel extra good about it in that trip. Like you, and it's not
loving my kids. I'm like, come here.
That's probably a dope experience to reconnect.
Yeah, and they be playing and just watching them. You just be over there just vibrating at your highest frequency, just probably, all in love. Like,
that's dope. Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but soon, I guess, one day. I feel like That's another thing. I wanted to get my trips out before I started to have like a family. I didn't want to like first time tripping like where like I'm tripping and then my first time tripping and then my kid called me like I need you to pick me up. It's like oh fuck,
no,
you know what I mean? Like
I'm like, and it's funny you say that because I'm like I gotta get a babysitter.
Yeah, you definitely need to get a babysitter.
I'm coming to this nigga crib. I'm coming right over there.
All right, bro. Yeah. No, for me, my trips are very much so emotional. Because I'm not really the most emotionally swayed person in general. Mm-hmm. Like some wild shit can happen. Wild shit has happened. And it's just like I'll feel a way for literally like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I think I talk and present myself in certain ways where people think that I'm like I do have a big emotional span of where I can go. But for the most part, I'm right here all the time. You know what I mean? And like when I do have a psychedelic experience though, it's more so happy than anything. I'm never really mad or sad. When I see something I don't like about myself, I immediately think about how I can change it. And like I come up with a solution like literally in 30 seconds. Yeah. It's not hard. You know, when you see yourself and you're like, oh, I fucked up. That was real fucked up. It's like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. I can do this to fix it. You know what I mean? Or to address it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing is like losing judgment on yourself. I feel like that. I love that part.
Not being too hard on yourself. That's definitely one thing I got to lose because I'm definitely always.
That's me too. Like in my walking life, my everyday life, I feel like I judge myself. Not judge myself, but I'm like hypercritical every decision. Sure. You know what I mean? It's like, should have been doing this. I should have woke up at 5:15 and I should have been at the gym this time and did this and da-da-da.
I used to take pride in that. Sometimes you got to chill on that a little bit. Because I told you, there have been times like even music-wise, people come to me and they kind of being nice and they're trying to, but to me, like they're trying to hand me an excuse on a plate that I don't want for myself. They're like, yeah, yo, bro, listen, this is the reason why, bro, the only reason you ain't do it. No, stop, bro, I don't need all that. The reason I ain't do X, Y, and Z is because of me. Because I ain't get up and do X, Y, and Z. Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Whatever that was. Even if I didn't know what it was. I didn't do the work to figure it out. I don't want your excuse. Don't come give me the sorry ass excuse in a fucking to-go container like here. So I can take it home and look at it and be happy with myself like, yeah, this is why. Like, no, nigga, if I failed, I failed. You gotta say that shit. Even though I don't feel like I'm at that point, but it's just like, nah, like don't give me no excuse for anything.
An excuse in a to-go container is so crazy.
That's how I picture it.
Because that's really how it be.
That's how I picture it. It's like here. Well, I don't want this fucking dumbass food.
No, but in my life right now, there's a lot of that. With my mom passing. Yeah. And everybody's like, well, your mom did pass, your mom passed. And although that's super valid, like, and I do try to give myself grace, I also feel like I'm not going to, my mom passed away myself into 4 years of not doing shit.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
Like my mom passed away 4 years ago, and like no, we're not doing that.
I know people who say that.
We're not doing that.
Yo, bro, literally that type of trauma will be with people. We have a mutual friend that, you know what I mean, who's older. He's probably like in his 50s. And then I remember years ago, he was having like a breakdown, and he called me. He's like, yeah, man, you know, my girl left me at the time. He was like a little older. He was like, I think it's just because how, you know, my mom used to look at me, because when I was a kid, you know what I mean, my mom used to look at me different because I wasn't all the way like black or Puerto Rican. I forgot what he said. I said, listen, bro, I got to be real with you. I'm saying this because I love you. You are over 40. There's not a woman alive that wants to hear about the trauma that you went through when you were about 5 years old, over and over and over and over and over.
Not over and over, because over and over means not over and over. The first time, over and over means you're not done.
Over and over, and that's what I meant. Over and over again. I'm like, you have to figure out a way to get past that, because you're looking for somebody to help you get past that now. I'm like, the way he was talking to me, it was easy for me to see, bro. You're looking for a woman to give you that type of fulfillment and love that your mom never gave you. None of these women are your mom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are a good dude. You're honest. You hardworking. You don't lie to nobody. You don't be sneaking around. You need to just roll with that and figure out how to love yourself first.
Take some shrooms.
Yeah. I was about to say. That's what I was getting at. I'm like, now that I think about it, I think he probably should have.
I got these golden teachers for you.
Golden teachers is a crazy. Who comes up with the drug names, fam? Golden teachers is a crazy.
No,
name.
Golden teachers definitely taught me.
My favorite shirt is Penis Envy.
Penis Envy.
I'm gonna show you the ones I got in the kitchen. You tell me.
And it's because they're the strongest, not because of the name. Yeah. They're actually like really strong, and if you ever run across Penis Envies, great shirt.
Damn, it's microdosing those. I mean, for me, like again, it's I like the medium everything though. Like when loud we got too loud, I was the nigga like, where the mid at? that was me. Like I was in Atlanta on Boulder Crest Road, my nigga, at the Texaco looking for the mid pack. That was me, and I feel like I always like I like the mid, but when it comes to DMT, there's no mid.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure someone out there got some bad shit. But like, if you fuck with Dodge, it's gonna be pristine every time. But I also feel like that was for me to have a bigger experience. You know what I mean? But on my everyday usage, I'm a mid ass nigga. Like I like the mid pack.
Yeah.
Like I don't even smoke for real because weed got too loud.
No, I did. And there's still weed, like, you know, so I smoke, but there's still weed that's too loud for me. Sometimes there's weed I'll hit, and every time I hit the blunt, I'm coughing 98 times. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Y'all can have it. Just give me something a little
And
less.
know, like,
give me the 7. What's that, the 11? Give me the 7, bro.
People
I can't get through it.
People be like, oh, like, you don't, like, no, I be like to get high. This is the thing. When I started smoking, my first experience smoking weed, I was in the 5th grade. And it wasn't really on purpose, but it was. Like, my friend was like, oh, my dad got some roaches. I'm like...
You went through a lot of elementary school. You can go, your elementary school stories be crazy.
Same dude, the same boy that got caught with the other bag of heroin, too, right? Not the boy that brought it. Not the boy that brought it, the other one that got caught with it.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, my dad got some roaches. I'm like, yeah, my dad got roaches, too. He was like, no, not them roaches. It was like,
no, you did not say that.
He was like, no, I'm like,
Yeah, my dad got roaches too. Yeah, probably mad as hell.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, my dad got roaches too.
It was like,
Facts.
I was with you like, damn, both y'all dads was smoking? Like,
no. I didn't know what he was talking about. Like,
Right,
so that was the moment where I learned a roach had another meaning. Yeah. I did. He was dead. But so he came out with this little roach, you know what I mean? And he lit that thing up. And I remember this moment as clear as day. Like, I feel like I didn't even really hit it for real. That's how you always feel your first time smoking. Yeah. Like, did I even hit it? And I remember walking home singing Michael Jackson, Happy as Hell. Like, I even realized I knew the words to the song until that moment. And it was like, okay, that was my first time smoking. But when I started smoking consistently, of course, most people was like high school. Yeah. I started smoking semi-consistently, and then I fell back for sports or whatever. But all that to say, I started smoking when Zips was still $100.
Yeah. So
the weed that is like prominent now is not the weed I grew up loving to smoke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Zips was $200 for some exotic.
Yeah, for some exotic.
You know what I mean? And then I remember when one day it was like, yeah, he won $400 for the Zip. I was like,
it literally happened like that. One day everybody was smoking, and then everybody out smoked out no more.
No, what happened? I remember I was selling weed around the time. I remember I was grabbing weed. I told him that story. I was grabbing weed off my cousin. You know what I'm saying? I was selling a little bit of weed, and then I remember I came back, and then he all of a sudden he had loud. He's like, here. He gave me the weed. He's like, you sell this for $20. I said, $20? You just giving niggas grams for the $5. I'm like, this nigga crazy. You trying to run us out of business?
Right.
We went back and started giving everybody shit for the $5. Next thing you know, everybody was coming back the next day. Yo.
Yeah.
You took them $5? No, I'm 20 now, bro. I ain't know. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, no, they're 20 now.
I know it was like, yo, you probably went to the crib and smoked the hell yourself.
Bro,
like,
it was. That's exactly what happened. I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, I remember it changed. That's when I slowed down a little bit too, because I'm like, yeah, I remember that was around. I was growing up at home. We used to just have regular weed. We used to smoke. Be kids, smoke that weed. No more. Going about your day.
I mean, some people can, but like for me, it was just like. And then I had an experience in Atlanta too, where it was like, I had smoked some Purple Haze, and that was the first time I realized like, I think I'm allergic to Purple Haze.
Yeah.
I haven't been allergic to anything.
What happened?
I had a very, very, well, maybe not allergic. I was just high as fuck. And I felt like I couldn't breathe properly. Mm-hmm. And that was a wild experience for me. It was almost psychedelic in a way, but when you're getting a dose of something psychedelic and you're not even aware that you're about to get that, that can be wild. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I felt like I couldn't breathe right. I felt like I was too high. My heart was beating fast. I felt like, I ain't gonna say his name, but I felt like. DC?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, I know, bro. Yeah, trust me, I had to get right. You know what's crazy? There was earlier pods where I slipped up and dropped some names. I gotta chill. That's why I'm like, I never. If I tell a story about you on here, I love y'all niggas. I ain't saying nobody names, but nobody know who y'all are.
You know who you
are.
I'm not
you know who you are.
Using you as a reference.
Yeah,
but yeah, I felt like that, and I was just high as fuck. And I went downstairs to the RA, and I was like, yo, I think I need to go to the hospital. He's like, well, I think you just high as hell. Like, nah, bro, like I can hear my heart beating. And I felt exactly.
That's exactly what he said.
And we was like, nigga, your heart's supposed to beat.
Your heart
It was
beats. Like, that's what it does, fam. And maybe if it's not beating, it should be a
But
trouble.
no, like it was just like I felt crazy. And I felt like after that, I also felt like for a while I had like something in my throat, almost like a nodule in my throat or something. I felt like I had an allergic reaction to the weed. And then somebody else smoked the weed too that night, and he said he had a weird experience too. And we was in different spaces, but he smoked the same batch of weed. And from that, actually, I stopped. That was my point of me like, I don't know about weed. And I kept trying, and then I went back to heavy smoking again. And it was just like after that point, it started giving me anxiety. Like the new weed gave me anxiety, bro. Like old weed, I was laughing, I was having fun, enjoying myself. New weed give me anxiety, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is. I'll smoke that pack, and then I feel like I'm having a over challenging trip, low key. That's how I be feeling.
Yeah.
All the people. I sound old as hell, but
alone?
all the chemicals in the weed, but not facts though.
Do you smoke alone, or when you be smoking, do it be with people?
I tried in every setting,
I heard.
alone with people.
Yeah.
When I was in Africa, like, and it was the same every time.
Yeah.
Even when I was smoking weed that they had, it started to just be like all weed was just like not really for me no more.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least you
Sometimes y'all grow shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like I'll still hit some weed, but I'm never gonna be that nigga that like wake up and roll up. That's never gonna be me ever again. Like, yeah, never. Yeah, I used to definitely be that dude. But is there anything else you want to say to the people before we slide out of here?
No, I think we covered
Yeah,
a lot of good ground.
I think we did cover some good ground.
Very educational pod.
Yeah.
Very educational.
Very educational.
Psychedelics can be your friend
Yes.
if you are your own friend.
Yes.
For
that
sure.
part.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
right. If you are your own friend, psychedelics will be your friend.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And I don't want to advise anybody to try any drugs, but if you're gonna try them drugs, if you leaning towards them drugs over there, just kind of like getting whipped up in a lab, and you know what I mean, got wild names, and you seeing niggas on the news getting exited out on the news, you might as well try to lean more towards the drugs that's over here.
Yeah. Shit, that's a little
If
bit
you
more
want to lean
natural.
towards anything,
In my opinion.
in my humble opinion, you know what I'm saying. You wanna
Also,
lean
I want to give a shout out
fuck
to
Big
our
Pharma. That's it.
that part
That
too.
part.
Fuck Big Pharma. I want to give a shout out to our special guest today, Dosh, for bringing the vibes through and also
Definitely.
being a safe space for people trying things that are new to them. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people and places and spaces that allow you to be yourself in such a like raw way. You know what I mean? Because it's raw when you do psychedelic heavy dose. As always, shout out to 1028 Podcast Studios, my man Corey O'Chab behind the camera.
For sure.
And this is the Lum LaL Show. Like, subscribe.
Please.
We'll holler at you on the other side.
Yep.
Peace.